Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Tech Developer. In my last video, we have created the repository for our Elasticsearch project. In this video, I will explain you what are the services we are going to create and how we are going to create these services and what will be the implementation related to that. Let's get started. So we have already the service package in our project. As I already informed you in my last videos, that service package will contain all the services that we are going to create, right? So for that, just go to your service package and create an interface with name poetry service or poetry services, right? And just enter. It will be the interface, and in the IMPL package we are going to create the implementation class for this particular interface, right? So let's have all the public methods that we can have, but before going further we will require the return type, because whatever the service will return to us, we should give the return type, right? So for the return type, go to the DTO class, DTO package, and create a record called API response GTO. Named it as a API response GTO, in which we will be passing the string, the data, that is object data, or you can say it as a T, and T the data, the type of data, the string, that is message, and int will be the status of the API, and accordingly the boolean will be the success, and there will be one more thing called timestamp, right? So these will be the data that we will be sending to the client side. So that will be the API response GTO. The API response GTO class will be the class which will be the common, right? From every service method, we are going to return the API response GTO. And T is the type of data in that. Data means the actual response data that we want to send. Suppose I am creating some object, right? Suppose I am saving the user. So in when the user will be created, we will send back the user again to the client side. So that user object will be the T, that is data. Other thing will be the message related to API, that if any message you want to give, like user created successfully. And after that we have the int status, in which that the it is the API status that we will be going to return. That is the HTTP status, like 201 in case of creation, and 500 in case of internal server error, 401 in case of unauthorization, and 403 in case of forbidden case, like access denied. And boolean success means is the API is successful or not. After that, what the timestamp it has been returning the response. So these things we are going to store in our API response DTO. After that, we will be having a DTO for our poetry DTO. For that also, I am creating the poetry DTO as a record. Let me create the record. This one, poetry DTO, right? Where what it will be having: string ID, the poetry ID, string title, string description, string type, and after that we will be having the type string, that will be our uh, poetry creation time, right? So these details we, and one of the most important thing, that is string image, the base path, or the even we can say the base 64 image directly, right? So that the fields whatever we have used in the document, or whatever the limited data that you want to retrieve in the poetry DTO, that will comes up, and we are creating the record as it will be the immutable object, right? So we have now ready with the DTO classes that we generally return from the service layer, right? Now go back to the services, and now we will be having the services like add poetry, right? And inside the another one be the update poetry, get poetry details, get all the poetries, delete the poetry, right? So these basic services we are going to create in this video. So in this video we will be just declaring the services. We will define it later on, right? So in the later videos we will do the implementation of the service class. Okay, so now uh, for that, like we need to create the poetry, right? So means the request body or the request payload we have to be available. Then only we can be able to create the service. So for that, let's create the request body in the form package. Let's make it as a poetry form. Let me use at the end data and implements serializable. Let me add JSON, ignore unknown properties, and let me add this default serial version ID, right? And we will be having the string title, private string title. After that title, we will be having the description. Uh, then after we will be having uh, the image. After that, the type, right? So these only details that we will be receiving from the client side. That is the request payload. First thing will be the title of the poetry. Second will be the description of the poetry, where means the poetry will itself becomes, and the image related to that poetry. And after that, the things of the type of the poetry, right? So all things will be inside the string. So only these details are there, which we will be receiving from the user end while submitting the request for some adding the poetry into the database. So this is the our poetry payload, right? Payload means the request body. So our payload is also ready. Our DTO is ready. Now let's get back to the services. So it will be public API response DTO of type void. Void I am taking because while we are creating the add poetry service, we are not going to return that data. We just going to give the message or the status that poetry has been added or created successfully. So that's why I have given the return type of data as a void. That means no data will be returned when we are returning the API response GTO, right? So in that case, uh, public API response GTO of type void add poetry, and poetry form will be the argument, that is the request body, right? So this will be this, and after that API to, or the service to update the poetry, right? So for that we will be saying that response GTO void, because we are not going to return anything. uh, that I will explain you more clearly that what I am trying to say. But let's understand a little. deeply. Just follow the tutorial. You will get better understanding that what I want to say, right? So another service will be update poetry. Update poetry. The argument will be the ID and then the poetry form, right? In case of add poetry, we are only taking the request payload. But when we are updating, we definitely need the identification that which of the title of the which of the poetry needs to be updated with the title, description, type, image, any of the things that we want to update. But that should be based on that particular ID. So in that case, when we are using the update poetry service, we are just passing the argument, the ID of that poetry, and whatever the poetry changes, like the poetry form that we were using, right? After that, we will be using the get poetry service. For that, public API response GTO and poetry DTO that we created earlier, and then get, in which the argument will be ID. And instead of that naming, I will just use add update get, right? So that better understanding can be happen. And this one is the get poetry service by the ID only. So that's why when I am returning the response, I am returning the type of data as a poetry DTO as a single object instead of the list of object, because on the basis of ID I will only get the single object. So that's why the return type of the thing is API response GTO of type poetry DTO, right? So I will explain you more in the another videos, but let's focus on this. So now the another service will be public API response DTO, and this time we are going to get all the poetry. So we will be giving it the list of poetry, right? And list will be of type util, and this it is here, and list of poetry DTO and get, that's it. Means without any argument, the get method will return me all the poetries that I have, right? So after that, we have to use delete poetry. If anyone want to delete that poetry, they can delete it using the delete service. So for that, we are saying that response API response DTO will be there, the void return type and delete, and the argument will be the ID, that the poetry ID that we want to delete. So these are the services that we have created. These are the base services that add, update, get by ID, and delete. So these are the services that will be used in our project. And in next videos, I will explain you what are that means, and we also go with the implementation of the poetry services. Then you will get the better understanding of this thing, right? So thank you for watching this video, guys. Please subscribe my YouTube channel for more videos, and also press the bell icon so that you can never get miss the update for the latest content. And please support in my YouTube journey, and I definitely ensure you that you will learn a lot of things here related to Spring Boot, Elasticsearch, JPA, Angular, Android. Lot of things I will get cover up in the channel. So please subscribe my channel and share the videos with your friends. And thank you for watching this video, guys. Bye for now. Take care.